All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. Let's call to order our Jeffco Board of County Commissioners meeting for February 4th, 2025. I'm Jefferson County Commissioner Leslie Dahlkemper here today with Commissioners Kerr and Zenzinger. Our clerk this morning is Katie La Liberté, and our host is Lane Blumquist. And Ms. Blumquist will field all requests for public comment and public testimony in the testimony sign up in the chat for those of you who are joining us this morning virtually. There are several ways to join our hybrid meeting, all of which are listed on our website at jeffco.us. You are always welcome to reach out to the board as well on our website, or you can also email all three of us at commish@jeffco.us. We'd like to ask everyone to please go ahead and silence your phones and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Next on our agenda is public comment, and the board typically takes up to 15 minutes at the beginning of our board meeting for public comment. We have another round of public comment at the very end as well. And public comment is specifically for items that are not on the board's agenda this morning. We'll begin with those who've signed up for public comment, followed by those who've not yet had an opportunity to. We'll start with those of you who are here in the hearing room to hear from you first, and then we'll ask Ms. Blumquist if we have anyone joining us virtually. For those of you who are joining us virtually, just a friendly reminder to please log into our meeting using a computer and send a note in the chat to Ms. Blumquist with your full name, address, and the topic. And when it's your turn to speak, the host will give you permission to unmute yourself, and you can go ahead with your comments. As of right now, I have four community members who would like to address the board. And let's begin first with George Yance. And the topic is fire mitigation. And if you would just share with us the spelling of your last name and your address.
Sure. My name is George Yance, and my last name is spelled Y-A-N-T-Z. That's Yankee Alpha November Tango Zulu. And my address is 2297 Weiler Road, W-I-E-L-E-R, and that's in Evergreen. I'm here to discuss the county's mitigation efforts, fire mitigation. My wife and I have lived in Evergreen for the past 10 years. Currently, we pay just a shade under $12,000 in property taxes. I'll reference that number a little bit later in my comments. I have attended several meetings that the fire department has conducted, as well as neighborhood meetings in which the fire department representatives have attended and presented regarding fire mitigation efforts. The purpose of these meetings was to inform and educate the populace as to which mitigation efforts citizens of the county could employ. In that spirit, my wife and I have hand-raked 40 to 50 large bags of pine needles each spring and again each fall for the past 10 years. After the devastating Marshall Fire, on the advice of the fire department, I have personally carried 6 tons of rock to be placed around our home's foundation. One of the important lessons learned after the Marshall Fire was the importance of having a ground barrier established around building foundations, hence the placement of the rock barrier. Additionally, we have paid thousands of dollars to remove large pine trees from our property to fortify our mitigation efforts. The neighbors in our area and I volunteered our labor to remove a substantial amount of brush and trees along our main egress road, as to also assist with the mitigation efforts. I have been told by the fire officials that one of the best ways to mitigate wildfire danger is to eliminate ground fuels, thus the reason for the removal of the pine needles from our property. I have met with and spoken with the Evergreen Fire Chief Uyghur and Wildfire Division Chief Jason Puffett. Both men agreed to 2 things. 1, the county has spent a great deal of money helping to educate homeowners on mitigation procedures. And secondly, they recognize that I have gone above and beyond being a good citizen by following and implementing the fire department's recommendations. So why am I here today? I'm here because the county changed its willingness to keep the tin cup deposition area for pine needle drop-off through the fall of the year. Please keep in mind that pine trees do not shed the majority of the needles until October and November. The county stopped accepting needles at the end of September, before the majority of needles had fallen. Because of the county's action or inaction, I was left with the collection of a huge bonfire equivalents of dry needle fire fuel with no place to get rid of them in Jefferson County. However, Denver County, Clear Creek County, and Arapahoe County were offered as alternative drop-off sites. In addition, private sites were offered at a much greater price.
Time.
But not Jefferson County, in which, as stated earlier, I'll reference it again, I pay $12,000 in property taxes. That's a substantial amount of money.
Mr. Hans, your time is up, but I want to thank you for bringing this issue to our attention, and we'll circle up with Tom Hobie, who heads Parks and Conservation. Jeffco Open Space oversees our SLASH program. We'll dig into that more, and if you could share, if you wouldn't mind sharing your testimony and writing your email address at the top of it and handing it to Cassie, who heads our Public Affairs Department, we'll look into that further for you.
Okay, just one last sentence. I just want to thank the commissioners for the time they gave me to read my concern, and I do await your answer at some point. So thank you very much.
We'll look into it. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Nice to meet you too. Next up, we have Tiffany Hicks, who is joining us for public comment. And Ms. Hicks, if you would share with us your address, and the topic is license agreement revocation.
Sure. Tiffany Seychelle Hicks, 27901 Pine Drive in Evergreen. And we were here just last week. It's nice to see you all again. I'm sorry I dropped off a packet of information with a very nice picture in front of you today. This is actually concerning the planning and zoning violation case that we referenced last week. As in the past 24 hours, we have learned additional concerning information. We do thank the county, Mr. Kirby, Mr. Montoya, Chris, for working with us in the past week. However, this new information is still showing that we're missing the bigger picture of what's really going on. Just 2 weeks ago, we asked Cora to see if Vegetation Management, Inc., the Linn-Meyer Alexander company, still was actively contracted with Jefferson County. We were able to obtain those just yesterday afternoon. We got the last 5 years. That's all we requested. Over $209,000 in taxpayer dollars were paid to the Linn-Meyer Alexander company. In 2024 alone, over $82,000, over double their traditional typical spend, was spent by the county. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and this fire continues to start to rage even further than we ever could have thought. We were looking only for a neighbor to actually abide by the rules and laws that we ourselves abide by, and yet this is how we have met it with a county contractor who treats his neighbors in this way by flipping the bird to me anytime I'm ever on my deck or on my property, as well as yelling obscenities. We have 2 requests for you today. The first is the 1990 license agreement that was granted by the county. It was done under false pretenses, and the county made a mistake. In the packet of information towards the back, you will see numerous accounts of information in which the 1955 16-foot right-of-way that was deeded from Highland Hills subdivision to the county is actually ignored by Jeffco in granting the license agreement. That is fully blocking 5 properties' access onto Pine Drive. Furthermore, the way that the fence has been built out, there's a 50-foot wide right-of-way for Pine Drive. That is actually now also being fully blocked down to a single lane of less than 25 feet by this license. And lastly, our suspicion has been validated by this county contractor now being employed by Jeffco since it looks like sometime around 1994. And we are able to identify an individual, we believe, that is the person who is leaving the Linn-Meyer Alexander's house on September 25th after a 2-hour home on-site visit, taking away some type of a plate that is covered in tinfoil, as Kyle Newmeyer, who has listed his LinkedIn as region coordinator at Jefferson County Open Space. This is a complete code of ethics violation and needs to be investigated further. Based on all contracts that we have seen so far, is that March is the renewal date for the Vegetation Management, Inc. Contract. We ask that that be suspended and fully investigated into the actions of county officials, into the non-compliance of these individuals. Mhm.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks, for being here and sharing your concerns with us and additional information. Next, we have Rebecca Hicks. Good morning.
Thank you. My name's Rebecca Hicks. My address is 27901 Pine Drive and 27903 Pine Drive. I'm hoping you're beginning to sense the outrage that we have experienced over the past 16 months of trying to get this issue resolved. This gentleman has taken part of our property that we pay taxes on. He has blocked our express easement that not only us, but other properties, one landlocked without this completely. That this gentleman has put up rock walls, blocked it with fencing, and refuses to do any, he refuses to allow anybody on his property. He has cleaned all of his equipment on our property. In the contracts, it says that he has to wash off all of the seeds, all the bad things. Our property is now flooded with all this strange weeds that he has washed off because he washes his vehicles on our property and has continued to do so for years. So we are asking for a number of items. My first concern is the safety of my daughter. This is a very volatile individual. He has made that clear not only to ourselves, but to other neighbors. We would like to ask that the fraudulent license agreement be revoked because what they submitted to the county did not show the easements, and it did not show the proper right-of-ways, and it did not show that they took property away from us. You cannot give a $1 license agreement to somebody that steals from somebody else's property. We'd like to have all of those items removed, the walls, the fencings, everything that he has done. And we want that, as I said, the easement unblocked so that neighbors can have a right-of-way to get out of the property. And we'd also like to have the safety restored. We'd like to have the full road restored for the safety of our entire neighborhood. Our roads and the number of homes in that area have changed considerably since 1990. Look at number 3 on it's easy for the county to revoke this license agreement, and he is responsible for all the charges. But most importantly, I want my daughter safe. I would like you to help me figure out a way how our law enforcement, somebody can help us, because we know this is a very volatile individual, and we're being brave. She is being brave by being here, and she has been subjected to his hostility for over 16 months. Enough is enough. Please, as a mom, help me. I'm asking for your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks, and thank you as well for being here this morning. And I know this is the second time that you've made public comment to the board. We had an opportunity to talk a little bit before the meeting. I know our county manager, our director of development and transportation, Mr. Montoya, with whom you've spoken, and Chris O'Keefe. We as a board will continue to look into this matter further with our county manager. Absolutely. Sure. We'll continue to dig and learn more in terms of answers. Thank you very much for being here. Next up, we have Christine Contramotos. Ms. Contramotos, please come forward and you'll have 3 minutes. And if you'd share your address.
Good morning. My name is Christine Contramotos, and I live at 10960 West Florida Avenue in Lakewood. I've worked as a public servant for over 20 years, currently working for Jefferson County Public Library for the last 14 years. As you know, our union is currently in collective bargaining with library administration. Our last negotiations occurred on January 24th, marking exactly 7 months of bargaining. And we've signed only 3 tentative agreements and are waiting on 22 of our 27 proposed articles submitted last July. This last meeting, we spent the first half hour of this session talking about housekeeping issues, again, such as admin not coming prepared to sessions with proper documents. They don't date their documents. We have to correct the grammar and misspelling on their documents. We are also insisting on more frequent bargaining sessions. These stall tactics are frustrating. I think they forget we are librarians. You know, we, the library workers, thought this could be the opportunity for management and staff to come together with acceptance, equity, and community so we could move forward as a team. Instead, library workers hear of upper management salary increases yet again. And when I tell friends and workers of the highest paid public servant in the library has a base salary of over $198,000, the first question they ask me is, for what? Then I tell them that the library has over $62 million in reserve. And then I'm asked, who authorizes this? So I'm posing the following questions to you, Board of County Commissioners. Do you have answers for library workers and the community on why the library's highest paid worker has a budgeted salary of over $350,000, while the lowest paid library workers were just denied 150 pennies? Do you have answers for the library workers and the community on why the library is spending $60 million on future buildings while we, the library workers, are fighting for safe staffing levels now in our existing buildings? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Contramatis, for being here this morning. We have quite a number of people who have just joined us online to address issues ranging from the airport to noise violations at the Cobblestone Car Wash. 3 people on just that issue alone. Board members, what I'm going to suggest is that we go ahead with that public comment. We have a fairly light board agenda, and I know people are eager to speak and move on with their day. So with that, we'll go next online to Carolyn Farbman. Ms. Farbman, would you please share your address? And you have 3 minutes.
(733) Kipling Street in Westminster. Recent aviation accidents should serve as a wake-up call regarding the growing congestion at RMMA. This congestion not only threatens pilot safety, but also endangers the lives of those who live, learn, work, and play below. FAA guidelines require aircraft to maintain at least 1,000 feet above congested areas. However, this does not apply to continuous training operations in the traffic pattern, meaning aircraft frequently fly at dangerously low altitudes over communities. The risk of mid-air collisions and engine failures in these conditions is alarmingly high. Pilots themselves are raising red flags. A voluntary FAA 2024 safety report for RMMA includes quotes such as, "BJC does not seem to possess the skill set required to handle the volume and complexity of traffic they receive on a daily basis. I fear something tragic is going to happen at this airport sooner or later. It's gotten that bad." Here's another quote. "The airport is extremely busy. I don't know if I turned rightfully as I thought I heard or if I misheard the tower." Even the airport director, Eric Dahl, has acknowledged that off-field landing options are limited due to terrain and urban development, and that RMMA operates within busy airspace. Adding to this risk, FAA guidance recommends a 5,000-foot separation between aircraft movement areas and hazardous wildlife attractants. Yet RMMA is conducting repetitive training operations above and near such hazards, including Stanley Lake and the Great Western Reservoir. RMMA's own wildlife hazard assessment has determined that local wildlife poses a substantial risk to aviation, and by extension to those on the ground. Despite these ongoing safety concerns, flight schools, RMMA's heaviest users, contributed only 8% or $600,000 to airport revenue in 2023. It raises the question, are the commissioners truly comfortable prioritizing training operations over the safety of their community? There are 2 immediate steps you can take to improve safety. Vote to implement landing fees. Grant Assurance 24 allows RMMA to charge fees taking into account the volume of traffic. This funding can be used for much needed safety measures. And 2, vote to include a provision in the voluntary noise abatement plan that asks airport users to avoid repetitive training operations in the pattern to reduce collision risk and limit exposure to unavoidable aviation hazards that lie outside of airport property. Under Grant Assurance 22I, commissioners have the authority to prohibit or limit specific aeronautical activities for public safety. Thank you. I truly hope you will consider these actions to keep our neighborhoods safe and our children.
Thank you, Ms. Barbman, for your comments. Next, we have Sean Wyrich. And Sean, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Please share with us your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. This is Sean Wyrick, 7483 West Atlantic Lane, Lakewood. And my concern involves the cobblestone car wash located at 1975 South Webster Street in Lakewood. I'm here to present our townhome community's concerns regarding numerous violations at Cobblestone Car Wash, 1975 South Webster Street, Lakewood. The concerns have been presented to Cobblestone, most recently a noise project that we've been working on for over 3 years, and yet no action. The project is currently in planning and zoning and has been on hold for over a year. But that's not just all. The additional issues involve grave violations for previously mentioned noise, lights, and the serious concern of blocking the public road South Webster Street, which is clearly indicated through signage as a fire lane for emergency services. They park their cars, they have permanent storage containers, and most recently have a trash roll-off located on South Webster Street, which is yet again a public road. As a result of them using a public road as storage and blocking our access for emergency services, this has all townhome residents gravely concerned. I'd like to get into a couple details regarding the noise. They completed a sound study as a result of submitting to planning and zoning. And depending on the time of day, Jefferson County has noise limits of either 50 or 55 decibels. In our community, we are experiencing over 80 decibels when measured. That is to equate it like a hair dryer right up against you. We are asking for action because we have had to live with this car wash for over 3 years, and yet nothing has been done. Additionally, the fact that they're allowed to utilize South Webster Street, a public road, for parking, utilizing it as a storage area, and blocking our access to emergency services, fire, police, ambulatory, is a huge concern that we need action on. I have presented our concerns to County Commissioner Kerr and have yet to receive any action from West Metro, Planning, and Public Works. We are here to ask for action and have yet to receive anything and any support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wyrick, for your comments. Next, we have on the same topic, Brian Jackson. Please go ahead.
My name is Brian Jackson. I live at 7494 West Atlantic Lane, Lakewood, Colorado, 80227. I'm glad that Sean went first and was able to set the groundwork for why a number of us here in the Green Gables townhomes communities are here today. My townhome is the closest townhome to the car wash. The exit of the car wash is directly facing my home. I won't go into the details that Sean went into because he's already explained that. I don't need to reiterate it. But where my home is on the where they tested these noise levels, as Sean said, the decibels during the day are tracking anywhere between 80 and more decibels from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So the minimum reduction noise level would need to be 30 decibels to be in ordinance with this county's noise limits. My office building, or my office room, is directly facing where the car wash is, and consistently in meetings that I have with customers and clients and other professionals, people ask, what is that sound in the background? It sounds like there is a blow dryer on in my office. And we have reached out to the individuals at Cobblestone to ask what the status of this project is for them to reduce the noise levels. As Sean has stated, there have been other attempts to reach out to the county to try and get this to help when they're clearly in violation of your counties, of our county's rules. And we have had no success whatsoever. So we are hoping that today, with coming with a larger number of people, we will be taken more seriously regarding this matter, as it is a hindrance to people's everyday lives. The not just the sound, but the lights. It looks like you're standing outside of a concert venue at night. And while this may not seem terribly important to some, it's extremely frustrating for those that live in this community. And we would love to see what else can we do to move forward with getting some resolution to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jackson, for your comments this morning. And also on this issue, we have Kelsey Sidlow. Please go ahead with your comments and share with us your address.
My name is Kelsey Sidlow, and my address is 1969 South Vance Lane, Lakewood, Colorado. I am here with the community of neighbors for the Green Gables townhomes, and I would like to speak on the issues of noise and safety related to Cobblestone Car Wash. Our home is directly down the alleyway, which is now currently blocked by a roll-off dumpster and 2 storage containers that have been there for a number of years. The roll-off is new, but it completely blocks the opening in the fence, which was specifically designed by the builder with the county to allow for emergency service vehicles to access our townhomes. I am seriously concerned about this code enforcement issue and have reached out to a family member who's a captain at West Metro Fire. And we are hoping that some action will be taken with code enforcement on these safety issues. In regards to the noise, I can't even have my window open a crack without hearing that blow dryer noise inside our home. I can't enjoy being outside. I am not using my patio because the noise is so loud, and the light at night shines right into our living room. We have blackout curtains that are Velcroed to the inside of the windows to try to mitigate some of this very disturbing light that is constant at night. This issue is really frustrating for us because we've been tirelessly working to communicate in a collaborative manner with the Cobblestone management. We've been given the runaround for years now, and we just want someone to pay attention to our concerns as a community. Obviously, safety is number one, but this noise issue is so disturbing, and I know that anybody else who would have this in their new home would feel the same. So we are just really here to ask for help. We have been working so hard. Sean has been our leader in trying to help us get organized and has presented really valuable information and details. We don't know what else to do. So again, like, we have been doing our footwork. We have been tireless. We need help. Safety and noise, those are the 2 issues. I have 2 young children. If there was an issue and emergency services couldn't get to my kids because there's a stupid roll-off blocking the exact hole in the fence, that would be a tragedy. So we are imploring your help. Please help us. That is all.
Thank you, Ms. Sidlow, for your comments. And on behalf of the board, we want to thank all three of you for taking time out of your morning to share your concerns and the experiences that you've been having with the nearby car wash. You're not in our hearing room, so you may not be able to see this, but I did want to let you know that our county manager, Joe Kirby, has been taking copious notes during your public comment. And we also have with us our planning and zoning director, Chris O'Keefe. And I'm going to ask both, we know how to get in touch with the folks who have made public comment today. If not, I'll ask that they put their email addresses in the chat. Okay, and I am getting a thumbs up on the request to please put your email addresses in the chat. And Ms. Blomquist, if you could capture those and share them with Mr. Kirby, we would appreciate that very much. Please go ahead, Mr. Kirby.
I believe it's Sean Wyrick's email that I have as well. So we have
Perfect.
contact.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next, we've got Bree Lehman to talk. Well, actually, I don't have a topic for Ms. Lehman. I suspect I might know what it's about, but Ms. Lehman, please go ahead with your comments. And as you know, you've got 3 minutes. And if you please share your address, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, good morning. Everybody can hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay, great, thanks. So Bree Lehman, I'm from Lafayette. I'd like to not share my actual address for concerns about safety and privacy.
Sure.
I am here to comment on the pending presentation about the voluntary noise abatement procedures that you'll be seeing fairly shortly, but I actually want to make a comment on all of these cobblestone car wash folks. I'm not sure if I'm encouraged or discouraged by the fact that they're having what is basically the exact same issue as communities around the airport. Been years of ignoring noise complaints. Communities have been experiencing 85 or 80 decibels and greater of constant noise. I will tell to the cobblestone car wash people, we sympathize. Absolutely. It is not how anybody can live safely, productively, and peacefully in their own home. And for your sake, I hope that the commissioners and the county are more inclined to address your concerns than they are with the airport. So that being said, the voluntary noise abatement procedures plan. I know that I've had a conversation with probably all of you on multiple occasions about our need to move forward with the community in a transparent and generous and cooperative way. When reading over the presentation that's about to be given, I was frankly a little concerned about the fact that you did everything in your case to dismiss comments from aviation impacted communities, people who are in litigation because of the noise, people who have developed noise tracking software because of the noise. These are people who have actual factual informed opinions about the noise impacts on their communities. The fact that everybody here is seeking to dismiss those inputs, I find really problematic. I also find problematic the Part 150 board that was attempted to be pushed through a few weeks ago. I've had a chance to overview and talk about some of those appointments. I think that based on the presentation that I saw, the non-inclusion of actually affected communities is a serious oversight, one that feels very intentional to me. So before you guys finalize any of these procedures, I would like you to consider that we are trying to be cooperative and are trying to move forward in that manner, and dismissing community members who have really interesting and factual information to contribute to these things, including the Part 150 study, is not how we go forward in that way. And I'm sure I speak for myself, but also members of the community on that. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your days.
Thanks. You too, Ms. Lehman. Next, we have Sierra Romero.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hi, my name is Sierra Romero, and I live at 7493 West Atlantic Lane, also in the Green Gables townhome community. I am going to touch a little bit on the cobblestone car wash as my fellow community members, as well as the transient issue that we are having over here. First off, I want to start with the cobblestone car wash. I have been in touch with their operational manager, their regional manager, and their district manager in regards to the roll-off. I live right next to Sean. I am 1 unit away. I am closer than Sean to the Cobblestone Car Wash. And that roll-off is right in front of my garage. The storage containers that hold highly flammable materials, per their last regional manager, stores all their chemical supplies, is less than 50 feet from my home, my actual home. It is less than 2 feet away from our cedar fence that divides our community upon Webster Street. I have spoken with them tirelessly and trying to get them to remove the storage pods, one, for fire concern, two, because the transients like to build fires in between both of those pods or behind them. And if those go up in flames, my house will go up in flames, my neighbors' homes will go up in flames, may cause an explosion, and then they can't get to us because the new roll-off dumpster is blocking their access to our homes. That is a major concern. Like Sean, like all my other neighbors, we have tried tirelessly to communicate with them and ask them to have things removed. I spoke with Tony Salazar, their operational manager, on Friday. He assured me this roll-off would be removed by the weekend. The district manager called and said he didn't know when it was going to be removed. Right now, we have transients trying to live in there. On cold nights, they're trying to start fires in there. We have somebody who tried to take out our fence because they're illegal dumping and dumpster diving in this roll-off. That leads into my next thing, is the transient issue. I have called the police since May of 2024 over 97 times in regards to transients living underneath the Wadsworth Bridge here in the green belt, the overgrown dry green belt where they start fires, harbor stolen goods. They've tried to make encampments on my property. They've tried to make encampments next to the fence with due to Cobblestone Car Wash. I have called. There have been 4 people that have been spoken to by Jefferson County sheriffs with regards into trying to break into the Cobblestone Car Wash. We are told that we needed to have no trespassing signs, and then once we did, they would violate them and make them move. I myself took it upon myself to speak with all of the businesses. That's why I established the relationship with Cobblestone Car Wash to get no trespassing, no loitering signs put up. But now the Jefferson County Sheriff's, every individual one, will tell us, we can't remove them, you're not the property owner. So I have had to tirelessly, for 9 months, work with people to get signs put up to get these transients off of the area. And yet, every time Jefferson County tells me to call Lakewood, Lakewood tells me to call Jefferson County because we're considered unincorporated Jefferson County, and we get no help whatsoever. The police come out, they speak with the transients, and then the transients say, oh, I'm moving on, and then the police just leave, and then they stay there, and we have to call again. We need some help here. I understand the transient problem in the state of Colorado is high. I understand we're not as high as Denver County. I work for the city of Denver, so I understand the transient issue, but unincorporated Jefferson County has no CAT team. They have no homeless navigator. I've spoken with Princess, the homeless navigator in Lakewood, and she can't help us because we're unincorporated Jefferson County. We need some help with the noise, the car wash, the safety, and the transient issue. I don't know where else to go. I hope you can help us.
Thank you, Ms. Romero, for raising those key issues. We appreciate you being here this morning. And again, our county manager, actually, we all are taking notes in response to the concerns you and others have raised. We do have a navigation system as well, so we'll be sure to connect with our Human Services Department on these issues. And I know our sheriff is listening in this morning as well. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm going to check to see if there's anyone else in the hearing room who would like to address the board during public comment. Come on up, Lynn. And while Lynn's making her way up, I'd like to see if we have anyone else online who would like to address the board. And Ms. Bloomquist, I just received your note that we have no one else online. So Ms. Clemens will be our last speaker, and we'll move on with our agenda.
Lynn Clemens, 6202 Kilmer Loop, Unit 102, Arvada. And I guess thank you for letting me speak. I am heartened by all of the input that you're hearing this morning and I'm hearing. I have a couple things. a couple weeks ago on a Saturday that was snowy. We had a town hall that was talking about how to advocate for our county, for our government. One of the slides says how to make an impact. Organize, get people, get volunteer recruitment. Secondly, tactics, public comments, testimony, letters to the editor. Have tools, social media, mobilize, notify the press, and make a plan. And we have put together an organization to be an advocate. 5950 McIntyre Neighbors United, 5950 McIntyre. We have done all of those things over the past 2.5 years. I'm listening to some of the other community members that are doing the same thing right now in this issue. The reason 5950 McIntyre is important, we could stop some of these issues. The county could stop some of these issues that are going to come about with noise and traffic and safety. This is a time for the county to look at the regulations and the rules. Two things that could help the community in the 5950 development. One, a real noise assessment. What's going to happen when we have 300 truck trips going up and down McIntyre, and the noise will be right next to my community? Again, residential, not next to commercial, next to light industrial. Light industrial or heavy industrial? 500,000 square foot of warehouses, 144 truck bays. Is that going to be noisy? Is that going to be light 24/7? You better believe it. Let's try to stop it or abate it now. Secondly, the other thing is traffic safety. The traffic analysis is over 2 years old. There has been a lot more traffic on McIntyre in the past couple of years. More developments are going in. 128 rental units at 54th and McIntyre are supposed to go in. What's happening to the traffic on McIntyre? Let's have the developer update that traffic analysis and use real numbers with not just warehouses. Trucking distribution center, again, 144 truck bays, 24/7. I don't want to come here 2 or 3 years from now after this development is in and do the same thing that these people are doing with noise and traffic and safety. Let's have the county really look at those regulations and do what's right for the people.
Thank you.
So we don't have to do this in a few years.
Thank you, Ms.
I like
Clemens.
being here every Tuesday.
Thank you for being here. That will conclude public comment for this round of public comment. Of course, we have a second round at the end of our meeting, and we want to again thank everyone who took time out of their morning to raise concerns with the Board of County Commissioners. Next, we have the approval of the minutes dated January 28th, 2025. May I have a motion to approve?
I move for the approval of the minutes January 28th, 2025.
Second.
Ms. La Liberté, will you please call the vote?
Commissioner Kerr?
Aye.
Commissioner Zenzinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Dahlkemper?
Yes, and that motion passes. Next, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. Commissioners, would either of you like to take an item off of the consent agenda?
No, thank you.
All right. May I have a motion to approve items 6.1 through 6.3?
I move for the approval of consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.3.
Second.
Ms. La Liberté, would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Kerr?
Aye.
Commissioner Zenzinger? Aye. Commissioner Dahlkemper?
Yes, and that motion passes as well. We have no agenda items on our regular agenda, nor do we have any items on our hearing consent agenda or our hearing regular portion of our meeting. So we now return to the final phase, or the second round, I should say, of public comment. Is there anyone who has not yet provided public comment in the hearing room who would like to do so at this time? And do we have anyone online who would like to comment?
No one online.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blomquist. Appreciate that. That closes public comment for this portion of the meeting. And next we have reports. I will go first to Commissioner Zenzinger for your report this morning.
Great, thank you so much. I have three things to report. The first of which is I attended my very first Jefferson County Mental Health Board meeting. There was quite a bit of discussion regarding the temporary governmental funding freeze from the federal government and its impact to the Jefferson Center for Mental Health. It was quite chaotic in those moments. The organization sprung into action to try and determine how much of their funding would impact services to their clients. It was pretty broad initially, especially when there were concerns that Medicaid might be included in that freeze. Later, they received word that Medicaid would not be included in that freeze, but there were still a number of other grant opportunities that fund both the state impacts, which is pass-through funding to the Jefferson Center, as well as federal funding that flows directly to them. We had a very long discussion about that. For right now, the funding freeze has been paused to the relief of the Jefferson Center, but they wanted me to convey to the board their thanks for working with them to determine what the impacts would be, and then also just their concern if that were to be reignited. They estimate that a large, significant portion of their funding would be impacted. Secondly, they have a theme for this year regarding the legislature coming together and focusing on behavioral health issues. Their theme is mending the safety net. They truly believe that we need to be focused on taking action around some of the gaps and the holes in the current safety net with regard to behavioral health issues. They also wanted to thank former Commissioner Tracy Kraft Tharp and the full board for the $1 million that the county provided to the JCMH in order to help closing the gap. They did say that it took a while for those funds to move along. I guess it's been more than 6 months, but they were still grateful nonetheless. And then lastly, I just want to put on everybody's calendars that we do have a save the date for their spring gala, which will be on April 24th. And then finally, there was quite a bit of discussion about the announcement of their executive director, Kiara Kunzler, stepping down, and the board is underway with replacing the executive director. There will be a very extensive process that will be put together, and that is forthcoming. My second update has to do with a conversation that I had with staff in order to discuss the Together Jeffco project. And they had a milestone event that took place last week where the updated Together Jeffco plan regarding the comprehensive plan has finally come out in order for a preview for the public. So I recommend that the community take a look at that new Together Jeffco plan that has come out on our website, and we would welcome any feedback for that. And then lastly, I just wanted to say congratulations to the awardees at the Jeffco Open Space Awards. That was such a fantastic event, and it was really a pleasure getting to know all of the folks that have dedicated a lot of volunteer hours and time to that event.
Great. Thanks so much, Commissioner Zenzinger. Commissioner Kerr.
Great, thank you. Like to remind folks that today is RTD's Rosa Parks Zero Fare for Transit Equity Day, and you can ride RTD buses and light rail for free today, like I did this morning. And also just really underline that that RTD is really pushing to make sure that the public transportation system is equitable for all who need to use it, as they really highlight that this is an equity day. Some sad news about Jeffco's very first open space director, Ray Prince. His services will be this Saturday in Golden. I was reading a little bit about his obituary. In 1974, Ray became the open space director for Jefferson County, the very first Jeffco open space director, overseeing the acquisition, development, and maintenance of natural open spaces, trails, parks, and historic landmarks. This nationally recognized program, funded by a voter-approved sales tax, became a model for open space initiatives across the country. Ray was a leader in his field, serving as president of the National Association of Counties Park and Recreation Officials and the Colorado Park and Recreation Association. He also served on the inaugural board of Great Outdoors Colorado, which allocates lottery revenue to support open space programs statewide. Ray was regularly consulted both locally and nationally as an expert in the creation and funding of open space and parks programs. Also just remembering that John Litz, who was a driving force behind the creation of open space, passed last year. So some of our giants upon whose shoulders our open space program stands now have passed in the last few years. Last week, we took part in both CCI and CCAT session opening meetings discussing potential legislation with commissioners from across the state in a variety of formats, and also met with many of our legislators down at the Capitol on Friday morning to discuss potential legislation coming up. Also wanted to I'll reiterate the Jefferson County Open Space Conservation Awards, always a very wonderful event to attend, as we hand out special, unique individual awards to the volunteers and programs that literally offer thousands of volunteer hours every year to our open space programs. We had a successful Jeffco Foothills Town Hall meeting. Lots of discussions around fire mitigation, the county's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and many other topics. I just want to highlight there is a young man who stood up and introduced himself as a young trans man who is living in fear these days with some of the things happening in our country. And we certainly wanted to assure him that he, his friends, his family are welcome and as safe as we can possibly make him in our county. And then also just a reminder that not this Friday, but next Friday is Winter Bike to Work Day, Friday, February 14th. So get those hearts on your wheels. And I know Mr. O'Keefe will be out there bright and early in the morning riding to work. And me as well, I'm sure. Although I think I might have a 7:30 a.m. meeting that day, so not sure I can make it that early. So with that, that's all I have.
Great. Thanks so much, Commissioner Kerr. A couple of quick updates from me as well. You heard Commissioner Kerr talk about Colorado Counties, Inc., of which we're a member. It's a statewide organization for county commissioners across the state. And CCI advocates, along with commissioners, on county issues that affect our constituents: transportation, health and human services, public lands, infrastructure, wildfire resiliency, and so much more. We also talked at length with our legislators and among ourselves about the significant budget challenges at the state level and questions about the impact of federal level changes on children and families, human services, behavioral health, and other critical areas that affect some of the most vulnerable members of our community. And we're working very closely with other leaders on those issues. You heard Andy also mention the Foothills Town Hall. I want to thank Commissioner Kerr for coordinating our town hall. It was incredible to see more than 70 people turn out in Evergreen, and not just residents from Evergreen, but Arvada, Lakewood, and other parts of the county. And thanks to our speaker, the Bell Policy Center, who helped us better connect the dots about the federal impacts and what that potentially looks like on our work here at the county level. In terms of the Jeffco Open Space Conservation Awards, I have to echo the comments you've already heard and just share our thanks to Coroner Annette Cannon, Dr. Annette Cannon, who also joined us, and many other Jeffco leaders and community members and volunteers. And again, congrats to the winners, and a heartfelt thanks to all of our Jeffco Open Space volunteers. I had a lot of fun on Sunday, and I just wanted to share that with you because I got to meet with a Cub Scout group of fourth graders to talk about what the heck a county commissioner does anyway. So we had a really good conversation. They had great questions. This Cub Scout pack is from South Jefferson County, and it was just so wonderful to spend some time with them. I wanted to mention three upcoming events, and I'll be brief, but this is an important one. February is Black History Month, and it's an annual celebration that honors the achievements and contributions of African Americans throughout U.S. history and right here in Colorado. And there are lots of wonderful ways to celebrate and honor through historic events that are happening all month, in fact: arts, theater, music, much more, including Black LGBTQ history in the Denver area too. And a very happy Lunar New Year to those in our community who celebrate this joyous, wonderful occasion. It is the Year of the Dragon gives way to the Year of the Snake, which symbolizes wisdom, transformation, and personal growth. And we invite you to come celebrate the Lunar New Year with us on Saturday, February 8th. There will be a really fun celebration that's free for families at Columbine Library. And you can find out more information on the Columbine, or actually on the Jeffco Library website. Last but not least, mental health is also an issue many of us care about. You heard Commissioner Zenzinger talk just a moment ago about the work of the Jefferson Center. Conifer Rotary is holding its second annual Mind Fest, and that will be on February 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. at Our Lady of the Pines Church in Conifer. This too is a free event for the entire family. I attended it last year, and it was incredible. The number of speakers, resources, even interactive games and workshops and more, and highly recommend it to our community. That's all for me. So with that, I'll turn it over to County Manager Kirby.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. I just wanted to provide a quick update and expand on what Commissioner Zenzinger was sharing earlier as it relates to work that our team is doing, trying to track the guidance that's coming from our federal and state partners regarding the pause that was originally implemented a week and a half ago to a host of programs that has now since been rescinded. However, we are doing two things in response to that. One is Kate Newman, our Deputy County Manager. She is tracking all of the federal and state guidance that we've started to receive from a host of state and federal departments. So as you can imagine, we have a significant number of departments that work with a variety of state and federal agencies. And so upon us receiving the notice that the funding was going to be paused for a host of those programs, we began to receive lots of communication from both federal and state agencies. So Kate is the repository of all of that guidance so we can keep track of the guidance that our departments have received and will be receiving so that we can begin to understand potential impacts as we move forward. In addition to that, I've asked Dan Conway, our Chief Financial Officer, to review, I know it sounds like a lot, and it is, the 2,600 programs that were originally identified for review by federal departments based on the president's directive. And so we have looked at those 2,600 programs to identify which ones, if they were cut back and or reduced regarding funding, that we can begin to try and anticipate what programs within our organization would be impacted. So fortunately, we're not impacted by all 2,600 by any means, but there would still be impacts with the pause if that were to be re-implemented. So we're also doing a cash flow analysis to see how long we can sustain our operations without receiving the federal funding if that were to come to pass. So.
Joe, just a huge thanks on behalf of the board to you, Kate, Dan, and also to our county attorney and her team for the immediacy and the responsiveness on this issue. I know there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of questions about what this means moving forward, and the amount of federal dollars that we receive as a county is not insignificant. And the impact, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, especially on some of our most vulnerable communities, including kids in Head Start, for that matter, is an issue that we're watching very closely. So appreciate the work you're doing, and also the work of the county attorney's office on this. There's so many moving parts. So I'm glad that we're doing our best to stay ahead of it, which is challenging.
We are trying to anticipate it. We are trying to anticipate, and it is very difficult. And, you know, Kim will talk a little bit about the work that her department is doing from a legal perspective. Yeah, well, it's kind of expect the unexpected at this point.
Right. That seems to be the one consistent through line in all of this work. With that, I'll turn it over to our county attorney, Kim Sorrells.
I have no updates today. Thanks.
Okay. Spoken like a true county attorney. Thank you.
My advice can't be shared in public.
I understand. That's right. This is usually when we go into executive session. We need to sing happy birthday. Well, maybe we shouldn't subject our public to our singing voices, but a huge and heartfelt and belated happy birthday. It was Friday, was the big day. Happy birthday. Thank you, Commissioner Kerr. All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and adjourn today's board meeting. We'll continue at about 10:15, 10:20 upstairs on the 5th floor for our briefings. Thanks again to everyone who joined us.